Hello and welcome to Star Trek Into Darkness, episode 10, our 10th anniversary
Yes.
episode.
10 weeks, we haven't missed one episode.
10 weeks. 10 weeks old.
That's an accomplishment.
That's longer than most Juggalo babies live. Let's be honest. Let's be fair here.
I was unaware of that statistic.
I think the health the World Health Organization released that recently. Actually, you keep up the news.
Yeah, well, the problem is that they send so much bullshit to my box that now they're just automatically sent to spam because I delete so many things.
Yeah.
Because they're always trying to fundraise. Like, your 5 cents could help us identify more Juggalo babies in the wild. And I'm like, click.
No, thank you.
I need that 5 cents.
I need that 5 cents, like I'm spending $5 on Red Bulls.
Yeah, exactly. I just bought a $5 sugar-free Red Bull. They're missing an ingredient, and it's still $5.
It's like you're putting less ingredients in.
And still charging as much.
Like, what's that all about?
We got to knock that conspiracy right the hell down. I want all 19 of our fans.
Speaking of conspiracies, this weekend I watched 2 9/11 truther documentaries.
I heard about it.
Has nothing to do with Star Trek, but
doesn't it?
Doesn't it though? But this isn't just a Star Trek podcast. This is a lifestyle podcast.
Yes.
How does Star Trek fit into your lives?
Right. What does it mean to us today in the wake of 9/11?
In a post 9/11 world.
Right. How do we apply our 9/11 post 9/11 critical eye to the carefree 60s?
But they're just the worst. The worst. They're the worst.
Not Star Trek.
Not Star Trek.
The truthers.
I mean, they're I don't know.
The documentaries or the truthers themselves?
Both. I guess the documentaries. I guess the truthers would be worse because without them, the documentaries wouldn't exist. But there, a lot of the times they would show footage. Like, this was footage right after the second plane hit the tower, the second tower, and there's a woman on the street, just some random woman on the street, and like someone's filming it, and she says that wasn't a commercial airplane. And they're like, like this woman said it.
This random person on the street.
I was like, and they don't.
Somebody in the grip of panic.
Exactly. Like, this isn't like like Mary Charleston.
Well, how do they
plane identifier to the stars?
How do they? Yeah, exactly. How do they explain all that footage? Then is it all like? Did ILM turn it out, and then the world just agreed to it?
Well, no. I mean, it's.
in the truther worldview, not in real life.
The planes did hit the towers, but there were explosives inside that actually brought it down. Because apparently, the buildings were built to withstand
plane crash.
Yes, and it's like, how do you? I mean, like, you
could
say that, right? You could say that all day long.
You can say whatever you want.
Say what the fuck you want, but
this building is dinosaur repellent.
Like, let's see a dinosaur try to knock this building down. See it.
Bring it on.
You don't see any dinosaurs, do you?
Mm-mm.
Like, I'd like to buy your dinosaur repellent building. What's that from?
That's The Simpsons. Lisa had the rock that kept tigers away, and Homer has to buy it.
But stuff like that, just kind of like. Just like these weird, like little, little nuggets of nothingness. They're like,
and stringing them together. If the truthers actually put their minds to it, they could probably create some really interesting fiction. If they've got the ability to weave things together that are that disparate, that's called creativity.
Well, I think the dude the dude behind Loose Change, wrote a screenplay about how like the character and his friends found out that it was an elaborate hoax, and he couldn't get it made. So he's like, "Oh shit! I'll just use footage that I can use for free, cut it together, and do this."
Fair enough.
So,
maybe if you wrote a screenplay, look, it's a little early. That wound is still really fresh. We're not ready for the Da Vinci Code of 9/11.
that shit, Da Vinci Code took 2,000 years for it to come out.
So put that script in a vault, sir. And laminate the pages so they won't turn to dust.
Exactly, you want to do that.
Right.
This week we got the Empath, the Tholian Web.
Yeah.
For the world is hollow and I have touched the sky.
Fuck yes.
Day of the Dove.
Yeah.
Plato's Stepchildren.
Hell yeah.
A Wink of an Eye. That Which Survives.
Not my attention.
7. Zing. You should be on like a sassy like VH1.
I should be like on Best Week Ever.
Yeah. like
making shitty, mean-spirited comments about people who are working really hard to entertain us.
Like start like, oh yeah, watch that episode this week of like if Star Trek, and if it was around like in the 60s,
right.
like Best Week Ever, obviously, you know, Star Trek is a huge deal. Oh,
right. Truman Capote's smoking, and he's like, well, That Which Survives, not my attention. Cut to a go-go dancer at a Dutch angle.
That sort of thing. Where was that around in the 60s? Where was that?
It was on the Dick Cavett show.
So
it was classy.
We're about halfway through season 3. More than halfway.
More than half. We only have 10 episodes.
More than halfway through season 3.
We have a week and a half left.
And it isn't like the clusterfuck
that I thought it was going to be. Yeah.
I mean, it's not as good. It's, I mean, like, by no means.
No, but...
Like, even the best episodes are pale in comparison. They're... Where would that term come from? Because it's like a ghost? It's a dead person? A corpse?
It pales, meaning it doesn't look nearly as classy. It's like, how do you expect them to stay on the farm once they've seen Paris? You know, that old saying?
No.
You haven't heard that?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, basically, it's the idea of, like, you live in a small town, you might think that the prettiest girl in town is the prettiest girl in the whole world, but then you see, like, a beautiful woman. Yeah, exactly. Then you see Janet Jameson, and your worldview changes.
Well, it depends on which Jenna you're talking about.
Oh, it's true. Are we talking Skeletor Jenna or, like, young, like, more voluptuous Jenna?
For a long time, I wasn't sure exactly what she looked like because I would see pictures of her and she would look different every single time.
Right.
To the point where I'm like, oh, well, these pictures are just...
Clearly. I'm making the loose change of Jenna Jameson documents. It's a new
does Jenna Jameson even exist? Who's Tito Ortiz really married to? Because he's in on it.
Right. Who got arrested last week?
Yeah, he's in on it. So let's just dive in.
Let's talk more about porn.
Poured into darkness.
That'd be a much longer watching project.
Watch out for a new podcast. Fucking watch out.
I wonder if iTunes would let us put that up.
I don't know. They wouldn't fucking let it. Well, the whole thing with Saga. I'm caught up on Saga, by the way, which is a comic book. I mean,
which you should all be reading.
If you're listening to this, by fucking all means, you will be into Saga.
It's the best comic book that I know of that's being published right now. It's really good.
It's by Brian K. Vaughan.
Who wrote Why the Last Man?
Why the Last Man. Mary Beth, I know you're listening, and I know you love Why the Last Man, and I know you love Ex Machina. I know this for a fact.
Pride of Baghdad, that was Brian K. Vaughan.
He's back to comics, and he's got this creator-owned book with Fiona Staples, who does amazing art.
Oh my god, it's so good.
It reminds me a lot of that Steve Dillon from Preacher. It's very simple but very evocative at the same time.
Yeah.
But there's a big brouhaha because there was like little tiny images
of dudes sucking dick.
Of dudes, and getting a dude like getting bukkakeed on.
Right. But actually, Apple did sell it.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? Yeah, there was a kerfuffle.
Yes.
Because apparently there was some breakdown in communication, and it looked like Apple had refused to sell the latest issue of Saga because... Now, keep in mind, this is a comic that has plenty of outrageous sexual imagery in issues 1 through 11.
Yeah, there's like a sex planet with all sorts of things.
Right, including children who are prostitutes.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, you don't see anything. You just see a little girl who is
exactly. You see people with TVs for heads fucking. And,
yeah, and you see... I mean, yeah, you see titties and you see...
you see a woman giving birth.
You see wangs.
Yeah, you see... There's a baby nursing on the cover of the first issue.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not that that's explicit imagery, but I mean, it's frank. So
it's raw.
Turns out
it's
Comixology
real.
didn't even submit it because they're like, there's no way it'll get through. But then Apple was like, we'll sell it. Why didn't you do this?
Yeah, just based on like Apple's like terms and conditions.
Right, they thought.
Yeah.
They extrapolated from that. We're not even going to try.
I was like, why not even? Why just try?
Just try. What do you have to lose but time?
You know what? Michael Jordan said, "You miss every shot you don't attempt."
I thought that was
LeBron James.
No, I thought that was Gretzky.
Oh, I don't know.
Saying you miss every shot you don't take.
Maybe. I don't know.
If any of our more sports-oriented listeners want to write in and let us know.
Well, the Empath.
Yes. Let's talk about Star Trek.
We're about 10 minutes into this podcast.
And Star Trek's only come up once.
The Holy Trinity, as as
well
established Kirk, Spock, and Bones.
Right.
They go to a planet that to evacuate it because something's going to blow it up. Boom! No one's there, which is weird because they're like, why would Starfleet do this to us?
Did we get pranked?
Yeah.
Did we get
Ashton
punked?
Kutcher, you guys are going to die. So no one's there, and they find a recording from 3 months back, and like the dude, because there's like two dudes that are like doing whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
They Brokeback Mountain, just like they get lonely and there's chemistry between them.
Yeah.
So. No, there's two. They're working there,
right?
And one's like, I guess, sciencey, and one is very religious. It seems like
I don't know.
And it's still the recording shows them just like up and disappearing.
Right.
And soon there's this really annoying sound that and it overtakes them all, and they're blinked out, just like boop boop boop. First Bones and Spock, or vice versa. Well, Kirk's the last to go.
Right.
So they come to, and they're like almost in complete darkness.
Great way to save money on a set.
Yeah. Spock says that they're below the planet's surface, and they're also reading. He's got his little tricorder out, and he's reading a life form. So they go exploring. They find some sleeping lady.
Sleeping human-looking lady.
Yeah, and she's like on some kind of weird table.
Right.
And she wakes up. She wakes up to Kirk pointing a phaser at her, saying, "We're not going to hurt you." She wakes up and finds three men.
Strangers.
Three strangers, one of them who was pointing a weapon at her, saying, "We're not going to hurt you."
We come in peace.
So she's not talking, and Bones figures out that she's a natural mute. Like, she doesn't even have...
Right, he uses the tricorder. She doesn't even have vestigial vocal cords.
Yeah, it's like, not that she, doesn't... She's not like Nell.
No.
Or that she never learned how to speak. She just can't.
She can't generate sound.
So they're trying to figure out what the fuck's going on, and some aliens show up and start being dicks.
Has Bones named her by this point?
I think he names her. Yeah, I think he names her Gem at this point.
It's like, yeah, well, that's what we'll have to call you.
Yeah. Like, well,
okay. Well, my name's Daryl Hannah. I don't know. That's the first thing.
That's the first thing that popped in my head. It's weird.
Yeah.
So the aliens aren't letting Kirk explain himself, and they eventually trap them in this rainbow force field, and they start messing around with Gem.
Yeah.
And so they dip out of the force field. So they dip out. So the force field comes down. The aliens do. They leave, and Kirk looks after Jem, and she touches Kirk and takes his pain away. Because when they touch the force field, like
it hurts them.
The field of the force field.
Right. The rainbow sparkles hurt them.
It hurt them. Bones invokes the title. Bones invokes the title. She's an empath. So they eventually start snooping around and find those dudes from the video. They're like locked up in empty tubes.
That's right.
Or they're locked up in tubes. And
stasis tubes.
Yeah, they're like, ah.
Right, looking like Giger drew them.
And then they find empty tubes with like either it says like Kirk and Bones, and McCoy and Spock.
Right, it's like, that's really fast work.
Yeah, it's like, really?
They have a really good engraver on site.
He's on call at all times. He's like on vacation with his wife. Like, those fucking aliens.
There are 4 like leftovers just in case Kirk decided to beam down with any other principals. They're like, just make 7. Well, how many are you actually going to need? Usually, probably only 3, but just make 7.
Just make 7.
Maybe Sulu will actually go down this week.
Maybe Chekhov. I don't know.
I don't know. Just make 7. What do we pay you for, Jerry?
Right? Like, are you refusing to do your job?
Maybe we'll only give you 3/7 of your paycheck this week. How about that?
How about that? We want 7, but we're only going to get 3, according to you. These guys are dicks.
You're on salary, Jerry.
So one of the aliens shows up, and Spock nerve pinches them and takes his weapon, and they start to make their way out. But the alien was playing a bully. He gets up immediately, but then he just like watches them walk off. Like they're like, "Hey, psych." Yeah. So they get to the surface, and they start heading back to the base or whatever.
Right.
And they see Scotty and some red shirts, but that's a Foley too. It's like a mirage, yeah.
Oh, man. I forgot. I watched this whole episode. And
it was not very good.
Yeah, it did not leave a lasting impression. It is not that which survives.
Kirk gets hit with some kind of, like, slowdown ray that, like, makes him, like, run in slow motion. And it turns out the